Okay, last session we went through the Sukkim Gimel to Zion, and we discussed a very important point on that last pasuk. I'd like to elaborate, review briefly that point, and elaborate on it tremendously. The Mishpitzo Zohav, he discussed the difference between the terminologies of Chazak ve'amatz. Chazak teaches us that we can't be happy, we shouldn't be content with our current level that we're at. We should try to grow more spiritually. We should try to go higher and realize that the level that we're able to achieve is much greater than where we're currently holding. Now, this applies to everyone, whether it comes to learning more, whether it comes to doing more mitzvahs, that we have to grow more. And we can't be content and happy with where we currently are right now. Rather, we have to strengthen ourselves and continue to add and grow. This refers to on a quantitative and qualitative level. Increase the amount of time we learn the mitzvahs that we do. And the same applies to other areas of serving Hashem as well. We have to excel according to our abilities. So that is the word chazak. The word ve'amatz teaches us, ve'amatz, be courageous, teaches us that we can't give up hope if we haven't achieved our goals. We made high goals to reach, and let's say we didn't reach those goals. We can't give up. This especially applies after we internalize the message of Chazak. Chazak teaches us that, okay, we have to set goals, we have to grow higher. So a lot of times that will say, oh, now we're going to get upset. Now I couldn't do that, right? No, no. Don't give up if we didn't reach those goals that we set. Now, this would especially apply to us because most people just don't care about growing more, about going higher, about getting better. They're going to feel happy with where they are right now, right? Those types of people, they never have yish, they never lose up hope, they never give up and say, "Oh, I can't reach my goal," because they never had goals to begin with, right? So that's the idea over here. But someone who yearns, who tries to improve, he will typically contemplate, wow, there's so much more for me to do. I barely even scratched the surface. And therefore, he might lose hope. He might give up. The pasuk therefore specifies ve'amatz. Don't lose hope. Don't have yish. No matter what the situation is, we shouldn't stop improving and serving Hashem. We have to toil and try our best. Now, that's what we saw yesterday. The Metzilus Hanavim, Rabbi Binyamin Eisenberger from Brooklyn explains this is like searching for gems or jewels or catching fish. You got to be patient. Anyone who knows anything about fishing knows you got to be patient. That's the same idea when it comes to serving Hashem, and we're going to elaborate on this point. Now, it should be pointed out that we have to try to improve, but simultaneously be content if we didn't reach our goals. That's why it says, Ezehu Ashir, Hasameach B'chelko, in the fourth Pirkei Avos, that someone who is happy with his lot is considered wealthy. The truth is, the Gemara in Shabbos discusses who is considered wealthy. There are different opinions. Some say you actually have to be wealthy, that it's not just to be happy with your lot. But nevertheless, according to this Mishnah, we see a very important idea of being happy with your lot, being content. Some say this also applies to ruchnias, to spiritual matters as well, not just gashmias, not just money. Now, that's everything that we learned last night. Okay. I'd like to now tie in a shir that I gave on Parshas Lech Lecha in 2013, 12 years ago, as well as Parshas Kadosh in 2014, as well as a shir that I gave on Ali Shore, as well as a siyum that I made on the shir, the speech that I gave at the siyum that I made on Brachos, the Yerushalmi, 11 years ago. All of those four things, tie them all together with this point. This is what I thought of last night. After I did this, I said, wow, this could really all tie in very nicely, and then I added it all in. The pasuk says by Lech Lecha that Avram was commanded to relocate. So Rav Zilberstein explains regarding this. This is in the Sefer Aleinu L'Shabeach, that Hashem commanded Avram to relocate because that is the shoirish and the mohos of his neshama. That's the root and the essence of his soul. And we learn from here that Hashem doesn't ask us to do anything more that we're able to do. Whatever we're capable of doing, that's what we have to do. We have to invest all our energy, put in all of our energy and effort to reach the highest level that we could possibly reach. However, something that we can't reach, Hashem doesn't ask us to do. Shlomo HaMelech says this as well. The Pasuk in Koheles says, in Perek Tes Pasuk Yud, Kol asher timsei yadecha la'asais b'kochecha aseh. Anything that is in your ability to do, you should do. Reb Zusha once said, and we quoted from this last night also, that if they ask me in the next world, why didn't you reach the level of Baal Shem Tov? Why didn't you reach the level of Moshe Rabbeinu? Reb Zusha says, I'm not going to be worried. How could you compare me to such great people, to such a great person? Did I have the capabilities, the talents, the siyata dishmaya that he had, the heavenly assistance? No. But if they say, Zusha, why weren't the Zusha you could have become? He said, that I'd be afraid of. The Bamidbar Rabbah relates in Parsha Chaf Aleph, in Os Tezayin, that Hashem said, I'm giving you 10 kosher animals. Three are in your possession, meaning they are easily acquirable, and seven are not in your possession. I have not burdened you with the need to search the hills in order to bring them. You don't need to get them. If they're not in possession, you're not in possession. So the Rambam is bothered by, what does the pasuk say by Lechacha? Leave your land, your relatives, your father's house. Why did the pasuk need to specify all of the details over here? Each phrase is telling us something else. It's difficult for you to leave your place, settle where your friends are, all the more so if you were born there, and surely if your entire family is there. It's very challenging and tough to relocate. The Pasuk mentioned all of these to say self-sacrifice. The Mesiras Nefesh that Avram exemplified for the sake of Hashem. Avram was at such a high level. That's the idea over here. There's a concept of schar halicha, that you get rewarded for steps that a person takes in order to perform a mitzvah. Avram did that. He's a quintessential example and role model of how to properly perform mitzvahs that require walking. The Tana de Eliyahu, the Zut and Perik Yud Zayin relates to Rabbi Yochanan said, I once learned the entire Torah and I didn't know two things. One of them was an old lady who would walk from one city and she would walk to a very far shul. So Rabbi Yochanan asked, why are you walking so far? She says, Schar halicha, I get reward for every single walk that I take. So we see the importance over here of what every single walk. So also, take a look at the Gemara in Brachos on Vav that talks about Schar halicha as well. Rabbeinu Bachai explains this concept of Schar halicha, Rabbeinu Bachai in the beginning of Parshas Eichav, does not exclusively apply when you walk to shul or yeshiva. It's applicable to any mitzvah. The Maharal says that when a person does a physical act, it affects that person. Hashem counts every single physical act that we do, every single step that we take. Someone who has the ability and potential to learn a lot and doesn't, he will be judged. Conversely, someone who does not have the kaichos, he doesn't have the capabilities to do that. So then, even if he learns a small amount, he'll be favorably judged. Why? Because he did everything that is required of him. Whatever is in our ability to accomplish, that's the level that we have to reach. Based on this, we could explain the story that's said over by the Netziv that once he overheard his parents talking, we're going to pull him out of yeshiva and we're going to get him a job. He overheard that and he said, no, no, I'm behave. Long story short, he went back and he behaved, and because of that, he wrote all this farm, Heimek Davar on Chumash Hailos Chuvas Meishiv Davar, the response that he has, the Heimek Sheila commentary in the Shiltas Rabbi Yachai. So we see that later on in his years, he said, imagine if I wouldn't have heard my parents conversing. I would have gone up to heaven and they would have said, we're all your Sfarim, we're all your holy books that you could have wrote. He didn't know what they were referring to. Now he knows. He would have never guessed that he had the potential to write somebody's farm. This is the concept and the lesson that's applicable to all of us. We cannot underestimate the potential that we have. We are capable of becoming great and performing a tremendous amount. We have to have confidence, hope, and optimism towards our perspective and on our potentially positive future. That's the idea over here. Pasuk says that Hashem spoke to Moshe, and he told him, "Speak to all of the Jews, Kedoshim to you. You shall be holy." How could you expect all Jews to be holy? Being holy is very difficult. Comes along the Shem Mishmuel, the Sakachavar, and he explains, this is on Parsha Kedoshim, take a look on page 279, that everyone is obligated to be holy according to his level. Attaining holiness is relative. It depends on the person, time, and place. That's the idea over here. Similarly, the Gemara in Yuma and Pevav says, Hechida mi chila Hashem. What's the case of chila Hashem? A desecration of God's name. And the Gemara gives different answers. The bottom line, the answer is it depends on the person, and that will be the level that he will get judged. That's the idea over here. Similarly, we find the Gemara in Brachos. The Gemara says on Heyamad Beis, whether a person learns a lot of Torah or a little bit of Torah, gives a lot of tzedakah or a little bit of tzedakah, whatever it is, as long as his intention is towards heaven, as long as it's towards Shamayim. That's the idea of the Gemara over here. You got to do whatever you're supposed to do. Whether you learn a lot or little, as long as you're doing it for positive reasons, for the sake of heaven, then you did well. So, in other words, you could have someone who's learning 8 daf and he finishes 8 daf of Gemara a day, he finishes Shas every single year. Another person is learning 8 lines of Gemara a day, and he's not going to finish Shas. The Gemara is informing us both ways are valid and acceptable. People are gifted with different abilities. Not everyone has the ability to finish Shas properly. And therefore, we have to do what's in our ability to do. As long as our mind and our focus is for the sake of heaven, L'Shem Shemaim, we will be rewarded. We have to strive to accomplish everything that it is in our ability to accomplish. Nothing more is expected of us. The whole discussion, Ian Kia's learning fast versus in depth, that's another discussion of itself. We all have different capabilities, strengths, and potentials. We have to be careful not to stunt our potential growth. We have to maximize our abilities to the fullest. This is explanation of the mission of Avos Lafum Saragra, end of the fifth parak. According to the amount of effort and difficulty that we put into Torah and mitzvahs, in accordance to that will be our award. This is why an individual who learns 8 lines of Gemara a day might in fact receive more reward than a person who learns 8 daf of Gemara every single day, 8 pages. Why? Because he puts in more effort. Regarding how much Hashem cares and how much reward one will receive is irrelevant. The main factor is how much effort did he put in. That's what the Shem Yishmuel means when he says, "You shall be holy." Everyone is obligated to be holy according to his level. It's relative. It depends on the person, time, and place, like we just said. This is also the explanation in the Gemara, in another Gemara in Brachos, on Lamed Gimel and Beis, that says that Moshe had Yirah Shamayim, fear of heaven. The Gemara says, what does Hashem ask from you? Hashem Shalom Yimach. He only asks you to fear him. The Gemara says, is fearing Hashem an easy thing? The Gemara says, yes, it is by Moshe. So this is referring to, says the Gemara, someone who wants to borrow something. So even if you have something expensive, if you have it, it's easy to lend it. Conversely, if you don't have it, so then it's going to be hard to lend it, even if it's something that's very cheap. The same thing is with the shayla. If a person's going to paskin a halachic question, if he knows the answer, even if it's a difficult question, he knows the answer, he could say it. However, if the rabbi doesn't know the answer, he's going to need to look into it, spend a lot of time. That's the idea, that by fear of heaven, it was very easy by Moshe. Why? Because it's dependent, it's relative. A very important ingredient needs to be added to the recipe to create true spiritual growth, and that is savlanus, patience. The Gemara in Kedushin says, "Tafasim rulo, tafasim muata tafasta." It's a Gemara in many places, Kedushin, Yezayim Al, many places at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, that if you try to carry too much, you're going to carry nothing. If you're going to try to carry a little, you're going to be able to carry. This is true in the physical sense when it comes to actually carrying. However, this also applies Gabi Ruchni, spiritually. If a person tries to take on too much, he's just going to drop everything. Revolbi writes in his Ali Shor and Chelik Beis on pages Reish Tes Zayin to Reish Yud Ches, that when it comes to serving Hashem, we can't just jump to areas if we're not holding there yet. We have to apply ourselves every single day, every week, every month, every year. It builds. The Pasuk in Mishlei says that this is the location of the pasuk is in Chav Dalid Tes Zayin. Ki Sheva Yipol Sadik V'Kam, that a tzaddik, a righteous person, falls 7 times. But what happened after he falls? He gets right back up. He continues serving Hashem, and then he'll be successful. Many times you ask a person about how's his avodas Hashem, how's he doing in terms of serving Hashem? He'll say he needs siyata deshmaya. That's a bad answer. He's accusing Hashem for the lack of him serving Hashem. Regarding these people, the pasuk in Mishlei talks about and says that a foolish person corrupts his ways and he wages war against God. It's in Yud Tes Gimel. The girl explains that sometimes a person starts to learn and do mitzvahs and he stops because it's difficult. Furthermore, they don't give him heavenly assistance, so he wages war against Hashem. He doesn't have the siyata deshmaya. He wants to know why they didn't assist him, but really it's because of his foolishness that he left the proper derech, the proper way and path. Everyone needs to go according to his level and not jump. Be patient. Be patient, and then he will go with certainty in his ways and in a good way. But this person, the foolish person, he didn't start to walk in the way, and that's why they didn't assist him. It was because of his foolishness that he did without a settled mind, and therefore he corrupted his way and waged a war against Hashem. The great Tana Rebbe Akiva, one of my favorite rabbis all time. He's a very important person in Jewish history. The Gemara in Meseches Nedarim says on Daf Nun, the beginning of his life, he was so poor. He had hay. He had a wife, Rachel, who came from an incredibly wealthy family. She gave it all up so that she could marry this Akiva, who was a shepherd at the time for her father, Kalva Savua. And she sacrificed tremendously in order that he could dedicate his life to Torah and to learning. That's what the Gemara talks about. What the Gemara doesn't talk about anywhere in Shas is what triggered his decision to learn Torah. What caused Rebbe Akiva to start learning Torah at the age of 40? What started that? What started his thought process? What got him going, learning, keeping the mitzvahs, and going in the way of Hashem? So the Avos to Rabbi Nassan relates. This is Elvis Rebbe Nussin relates in Perek Vav that one time he was walking and he saw a rock, and through there was a hole in the middle of the rock. The water penetrated through the rock and it carved a hole. And Rebbe Akiva wanted to know, how could something so soft penetrate something so hard and create a hole? So Rebbe Akiva realized it wasn't that it took many, many, many years, and then, right, from this, Rabbi Akiva made his Kal V'chomer. Okay, we'll come back to that idea in a moment. From this, he made his first Kal V'chomer, and he said if something very soft could penetrate something very hard, so then the Torah, which is hard like iron, Kasha Kabarzel, could penetrate something very soft, my heart. He then started learning, and after 24 years of diligent learning, Gemara and Ksubas discusses that he had 24,000 Talmidim, 1,000 Talmidim he averaged every single year. Beautiful. What's the obvious question on the Avos Rabbi Nassim? This little bit of water, this hole in the rock, that's what fueled Rabbi Akiva. That's what triggered this. So the Vilna Gaon explains that no, it was Rebbe Akiva realized the rock suddenly, after many years, didn't just boom, suddenly make a hole. It was every single day the water kept dripping and going on the rock. This is what Rebbe Akiva realized. Every day, it's about every day, day in, day out, every minute utilizing, taking advantage. Every single hour, every single moment, every little bit of water would hit the rock. Slowly over time, that led to the hole in the rock. Every single drop, every moment, all effort that was put in, that's what made the hole. That's what penetrated the rock. This is the idea over here. This is the analogy. The Gemara in Tainus and other places, Tainus Dav Zayin, that Ein Mayim El Torah, the water refers to Torah. The water is the Torah. That every single drop matters. Every single line of Mishnah, every line of Gemara, every single pasuk, anything that we learn, every single line matters. Every single word matters that we do. Every single small act that we do matter. That's what Rabbi Akiva realized. He realized that every single little thing that I do makes a major difference. A lot of times you see people, they go to learn in Israel for a year or two, they come back, it's hard, the learning, they get thrown into a new environment, what they're not used to, it's very hard, especially in the beginning. It's a new language. A lot of people, they start learning, it's very difficult for them to get off of the art scroll Gemara, to learn properly, to learn the Rishonim, the Achronim, to learn Ba'amelus, with diligence, with a lot of toil, with Hasmada. It's very, very difficult. It's hard. It's a new language. It's very hard in the beginning, but it gets easier. It's every single drop that matters. If they would realize, like Rabbi Akiva, every single drop it builds. It gets easier as you go. The more you learn, the easier it gets. You learn whatever it is from one place, it gets tied together. That's how the Mishnah, that's how the Gemara works. It assumes you already have background knowledge. You just gotta jump in, and then eventually you'll get the knowledge. That's the idea over here. Rabbi Jonathan Reddy writes in his 1 minute Masmid on pages 21 to 23 a beautiful analogy to bring out this point. He said that this is comparable to a king. The king said, anyone who climbs this 1,000-story building will inherit half of the kingdom and will marry my daughter. Good deal. Everyone tries to climb the tower. People go and go, and by the time it's 50th, people start dropping out 60th, 70th. Only a few Anshe Yechidim left by the 70th floor. By the 80th floor, only two individuals left. By the 90th floor, everyone goes home. They give up. They said, if this is the 90th floor and we have almost 10 times the amount of you, how are we going to get to the top? What they didn't realize is that at the 100th level, there was an elevator that would gonna go to the top of the building and they didn't need to climb anymore. The lesson of the story is in the beginning, when a person tries to learn, it's very, very difficult. It's new terminologies, new ideas. It's not as geschmack, as enjoyable, not as fun. People usually like doing what they're good at. Look around. What's your favorite sport? Why is that your favorite sport? Because you're good at it. What's your hobby? Why do you like doing it? Because you're good at it. That's what it is. People enjoy what they're good at. In the beginning of learning, it's difficult, it's annoying, it's humbling. It crushes a person. But that's precisely what you have to do. Crush yourself. It's building. Because once you hit this level, the 100th level, that's the siyata dishmaya, that's the heavenly assistance that you get. And that's when it gets much easier and much more enjoyable. There's a story one time that there was a person was walking on the road and he saw people digging a deep hole and he said, "What are you digging so deep? You digging for gold, for Bitcoin? What are you looking for?" They replied, "We're building a tall building." The guy said, "You're building a tall building wrong way. You got to build up, not down. What's going on?" The builders, they said, You think we don't know what we're doing? We're building. The explanation is the bigger the building, the taller the building is going to be, the deeper the yesod needs to be, the foundation needs to be bigger. You need to dig a digger ditch over here. When a person is building a massive skyscraper in New York City, you can't have a 5 foot foundation. You got to go down. So too, when a person is building a foundation for him serving Hashem and he wants to become a massive Talmud Chacham, he has to be incredibly serious when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs. To build a massive foundation, he has to learn a tremendous amount, be scrupulous when it comes to learning Torah and performing mitzvahs and having good characteristics, good midos towards everyone. It's all inclusive in the package. To daven properly, it's all together. A person has to have savlanus, be patient. Nowadays, everyone wants instant gratification, instant coffee. There's no such thing as instant Talmud Chacham. When it comes to building the building, a person has to be patient. Even with all of the great technological advancements that we have, robots are coming out, self-driving cars, amazing technology that we have, etc. You name it. You can't just build a building overnight. It takes days, weeks, months, years. It's the same thing with the Torah Hakadosh Lahavdil. It takes time. Even if you have hundreds of people trying to build a building, it takes time. Same applies to serving Hashem. You can't just jump ahead and go to places where you're not holding. The heavenly assistance will come, but it takes time. Just like when you're building the foundation, a lot of times you're subject to the nitty-gritty, not so great weather, and it might not be so enjoyable when you're building it. But boom, once you have the foundation, once you have the building, boom, the thing's already up. That's the Siyat Dishmai, the heavenly assistance. No problem. You want to continue with the building? Just go inside, even if it's a snowy day, even if it's a rainy day. You go inside. Now you got to the interior, the Siyata Dishmaya. It gets easier. You're not stuck outside, so to say. You don't need to get down and dirty anymore. Proper patience obligates us to have a settled mind before we start learning and serving Hashem. We should realistically estimate and evaluate how much could we really achieve. We mustn't expect too much of ourselves, but also not too little. In other words, we have to set goals that we're able to achieve, goals that we're able to stick to, but nothing that's out of our league that we can't do. But at the same time, we can't give up if we can't meet those goals. We have to do what we're able to do. That's what it means to serve Hashem with the settled mind. That's what it means that what we're able to do, we're able to do. Every single day we should have a calculation. We should make a cheshbon, have proper patience. And every single day we should establish time to learn about patience. You can learn the Musar Sfarim, they talk about patience also. Patience is incredibly important. That's the idea over here. That's the idea. Now, let's just discuss something over here. This is Chazak Ve'ematz. This mamish ties in beautifully.